Coscarelli here. Welcome into Women Crush Wednesday, sponsored by Gym Plus Coffee. In fact, it's an athleisure company based in Ireland. I am rocking their Chill Track Cropped Crew in Alabaster. And their stuff is so comfortable. I'm ready for fall. How about you guys? Today we have such an exciting guest. It is not every day you can have the head of design for a very popular athleisure company, but alas, Women Crush Wednesday, we lucked out. We have Courtney Evers, who is the head of design for Gym Plus Coffee. We're gonna pick her brain. Her journey is so fascinating. And then I'd like to talk about the company's ethos, what it's rooted in, and just kind of learn a little bit about product design. We've never had a guest on like this, and so I'm super stoked to have her. Her journey is super interesting. She's traveled a lot. Her career has taken her all over the world, and there she is tuning in from Ireland. Hi, Court. How are you?
Good, Erin. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be on your part of your community.
You
Instagram Live.
IG Live. Welcome to IG Live. Well, you're seriously like the ultimate woman crush, because you kind of done it all. It was funny. We jumped on a call a few days ago, and I was like, you could almost be like a little bit of a motivational speaker, just with the career that you've led. And now you're at Gym Plus Coffee. You are head of design, head of product there. And it's so fascinating to me that we actually have someone like you on the show to kind of talk about that. Because athleisure is so popular these days. I think people care about being comfortable but cute at the same time. And I get to be both. I'm super comfy and cute all at once.
Very
so,
yeah.
But a little bit about you before we talk about the company. You have such an interesting story. You grew up in Philly, power lifter.
Yeah.
Owned your own company. You actually owned a granola company. And then you have this interesting background where you've navigated a career. Your resume is super fascinating. You worked at Nike, then Adidas,
Yeah.
and you lived in Germany as well. Can you talk a little bit about why this, and by the way, what's really interesting is you kind of actually have the perfect makeup for your job, because as head of design and as a power lifter, you know exactly what is important and a priority when it comes to a performance apparel, which I'll get to in a second, because I am curious to get your thought on like what is a priority for performance apparel. But first, why this industry? Like, what about athleisure attracted you to wanting to kind of have this career, projection?
Yeah, so it's crazy. I was an athlete my whole life. I played team sports for as far as I can remember. So sports has always been rooted in me, in my life. But I also really wanted to be a fashion designer. So I wanted to be a high-end fashion designer, and I had this ambition to go into high-end fashion. And I was working eventually in more low-end fashion after college. And a colleague from there went over to Fila, and they're like, hey, we have a position. Would you ever want to do sportswear? And I was like, oh, well, that would make sense, but never really thought about it. And I decided to, apply for the job. I did a project, and as I was doing the project, I was like, this is just coming so easy for me. This is so natural for me. Like, I'm like, this is what I should have been doing the whole time. And as soon as I made, did this project and got the job at Fila, I realized that, performance apparel and, sportswear is definitely where I belong. And it's the place that makes me happy within my career.
Yeah. And it seems like such a natural fit for you, especially based on your background and what we had talked about too, how you like to lead as a manager. And I think we'll get to that too. But when you do something that you love, hard work, there's a lot of sweat equity that goes into it. But you're so fortunate that you found what you love, and then you have the ability to imprint your own creation that people like myself, consumers, can enjoy and wear. And you talked about how happy that makes you, that people are like, this is amazing. And the fact that you're at a company where they can literally call and have conversations with people, and that can get directly brought to you. So like I could call as a consumer and say, oh, this button or this stitch, and it might make it to you, which is crazy. But all of that aside, your journey there to Gym Plus Coffee is quite fascinating. If you could talk a little bit of how you actually got there, because like I mentioned earlier, you've worked at Nike, you've worked at Adidas, you've worked at kind of the biggest names in the business, and you've traveled all over the world. When it comes to facing your fears, you've got that down, because I literally moved to San Francisco for 1 year and I was petrified, and I'm from LA. It's so sad. But you moved to Portland, then to Germany, then to Ireland. Can we talk about how, I think for us as women, how you've had to face your fears and navigate these adjustments so fearlessly?
Yeah.
Or maybe you were afraid. Maybe you were afraid and
I wasn't really afraid to move to different cities. I think when I was younger, I wanted to go into fashion, and New York is where I needed to be. And I was like, okay, I'm going to leave Philly and I'm going to go to New York, regardless of whatever happens. Like, that's where I need to be. That's where the job is. That's where I'm going to go. And I've kind of always actually let my career lead me to where the next place is. You know, working from, you know, going into New York, then I worked at Fila, then I worked for a sub brand of Nike. Then I got a job offer at Adidas in Portland, and it was like, okay, move to a whole new place. You know, you get kind of comfortable and rooted, but just moving to Portland was in itself a great city. I was looking into the food industry, or not the food industry, but the food there was really great. So I was like, okay, can't be half bad if the food's good. But then my career to Adidas in Portland brought me to Germany. So an opportunity and a change within the team in Portland opened up an opportunity in Germany. And I was like, okay, I want to go with the position. I want to stay with my team. I'm going to move to Germany. And so I moved to Germany. And it was, you know, of course, like the older you get, it's always crazy. And it's a little scary to move to a new country or a new city or wherever, because you're leaving your comfort zone, you're leaving your family, your friends, and you're essentially starting from scratch every time you do. Like, okay, now I need to, you know, at 42, make new friends, explore a new city, you know, get resettled here in Ireland. But at the same time, it's still exciting because it's new adventure.
Sure. Yeah. Here with Courtney Evers, head of design of Gym Plus Coffee, my Woman Crush Wednesday of the week. It is such an honor to have you. By the way, I'm rocking their cropped crew sweatshirt in alabaster. I get compliments on not only the material, which is called neoprene.
That is the chill material.
Gotcha. Okay. And I get compliments on the fit. I get compliments on the material because it's really soft. It's super comfy. And you're in charge of head of design, and not a lot gets through you before it hits the product line. And I do want to talk to you because you have a background in powerlifting, so you know pretty well what's a priority when it comes to performance apparel, which is what Gym Plus Coffee is. I want to get your take on what's a priority for you when it comes to designing performance apparel. But before we get to that, why did you choose to move on from Adidas to then work with Gym Plus Coffee? What about their ethos was something that intrigued you?
So I'd been with Adidas for 13 and a half years, and I'd been through different product categories within the design community. I moved over to marketing. I worked on footwear marketing for 3 years. I worked on advanced concepts. But there was always something where I'm like, okay, I've been here for a long time. I feel like it's ready for me to leave. And I did ask the universe, like, you know, send me somebody, a recruiter with a position. I need a change. And I got an offer, or I got a call from a headhunter who reached out to me. And they're like, hey, there's this company in Ireland called Gym Plus Coffee. And I was like, okay, I hadn't heard of it. You know, we have a head of product position. I was like, okay, I'm listening. You know, here's some information on the company. Here's this magazine that they put together. You know, have a look and let us know what you think. And the more I started looking into not just the website and the products that they made, but, you know, more about their ethos into the brand, how everything's about making life richer. It's about community. It's about bringing people together. They're focused on women in sport, which as an athlete in sport kind of really, resonated with me. Their focus on sustainability and trying to make better product is also really important as somebody in the product industry. All those things coming together, I was like, okay, this is a brand that I can get behind. And then, I met with the guys, the three co-founders, and just meeting them and talking to them. The more I worked on the project, the more I got really excited about the job and the opportunity within the company. And I was like, this seems like it's going to be a really great fit. And it seems like it's going to be a good place for me to not only grow, but I also have an opportunity to make my mark, make a difference. And so I think.
And you had, and I love that, because I remember you had mentioned the three gentlemen, the owners of the company, really surprised you in that their priority was focusing on the community, was focusing on enriching and empowering the company and the company's footprint, if you will, which for me is very important when it comes to companies you want to work with. And like you mentioned, sustainability. Was that something you were surprised by, that was so important to them, based on, obviously working for these other bigger companies that, were based in Germany and in the States?
I wasn't surprised, but I think it's one of those things where, companies need to be going in this direction. So good that they were already in this mindset and in that direction. And it's, it's easier to help grow a company and an ethos within that when they already have it within the belief system, right? And everybody, like the guys, like are really a big fan of, everybody owning their patch within a company, and everybody in the team has a place, and everybody on the team has a voice. And, it's a really great, small team, and we're growing, but, the people on the team is what really makes the company great.
And I love too, Gym Plus Coffee, like the whole ethos really is rooted around make time for exercise, make time for you, but also there's a social component. And I can tell you, after everything that we've been through, the past couple of years with this pandemic, not having that social, not having that community, I think has greatly impacted our youth for sure, if not, adults and the like. So I think the emphasis of balance seems to be a priority with Gym Plus Coffee. So I appreciate that. And I think that that's a great commitment to have within the company. And what's really interesting too, here with Gym Plus Coffee, head of design, Courtney Evers, thank you so much for making the time today. We spoke a couple of days ago about how you like to lead and how you like to empower your teammates. Can you kind of enlighten us, for people that might be tuning in that hold managerial positions and you have a team, what's important for you when it comes to getting feedback? Because we all have to get feedback, sometimes good, bad, and I think creating an environment where we can hear feedback is super important. How do you like to lead?
So for me, over my career, I've, definitely made mistakes being a manager and a leader. And when I was younger, I wanted to control everything. And you realize that doesn't help anything. And for me, it's really putting the trust into the team and the team members that I have to do their job and to come to me if they have problems, but also to, not only give them constructive feedback, but to also encourage them to give me constructive feedback. Because the biggest things is, it needs to go both ways. I can only be a great manager and a great leader for my team if they feel that they can come to me and, they tell me if I'm doing something that doesn't work for them, or if I'm saying something that's maybe too direct for them, that they let me know, because I won't know unless somebody tells me. So I think it's important to be open to feedback up. And I tell everybody within the team that, they all have a voice and that they have something to contribute. So no matter what position they are, what level they are within the company, everybody can bring something to the table. And maybe I have my mindset on one thing, but, if they believe it should be something else, say it, challenge, because that's the only way that we'll all get better and grow, not just as a brand, but, individually as well.
I love that. Yeah. I think inclusivity, that's why you hire the staff you hire, so that they can
bring their particular insights in. And I think creating an environment where it feels safe to bring something to you as the boss, where you actually incorporate it and you encourage it, I think lends itself to good team morale. So if the people inside the company are happy, the people outside the company will reflect that.
And nobody really walks around the company like, okay, I'm the boss. Like even Niall,
Right.
Everybody sits all with each other. We're all kind of close to each other. And it's, you don't have this like, somebody's in an office and it's like the hierarchy, or like the boss man is in the office and you have to, everybody's all sitting together. And, I sit next to my senior garment tech and my junior buyer. It's not like there's a special place for, people in charge. It's that kind of a space where everybody is just, we're one team.
That's awesome. But I think a lot of people, that's not always easy. People in positions of power like to, look, I'll admit myself, I think I struggle with my ego and having to put my ego in check. And even with my on-camera performance, right? I want everybody to think I'm doing a great job. It's super intimate if someone says feedback about me and you read about it. But my ego needs to be put in check sometimes. And it's important to do that. And so I think people in positions of power, people in positions of authority, knowing that you're creating an environment where it is safe to have feedback, I think is super cool. We were talking, oh, go ahead.
I think also being an athlete helps with the feedback loop, right? Because being in sports, and you can't be a better athlete without getting feedback. I used to do CrossFit, and one of the ethos in CrossFit is leave the ego at the door, right? And it's that kind of mindset of, you leave the ego at the door and you get that feedback. And that's how you get better.
And I think admitting and being vulnerable when you do struggle with that. And I think the more you can have an honest relationship with yourself, the more your relationships with other people will be honest. And speaking of, you're working with CrossFit, or you had worked out at CrossFit, obviously a power lifter. You have a record still in Germany that holds, what was it, the back squat?
I have the German record and the Bavarian record for the back squat. Yeah.
So you know a thing or two about performance. What is an important priority when it comes to designing performance apparel?
For me, the first thing is really looking at functionality and what are you solving for? Like when you're creating the apparel, it's like why am I making this piece, this garment, and what's its purpose? So if it's for running or if it's for training, I'll then choose a specific material according to the sport. Because if it's running, I want something a little bit more lightweight. I want to think about breathability, mesh ventilation, zip pockets, reflectivity. Am I running at night? What do I need? Where do I need to put my phone? Like those types of things. So you're problem solving in one, like training a product is like, okay, maybe I need something that's squat proof. It's definitely going to have a comfortable waistband. It can't slide down. If I'm designing tights, am I going to get the support from a bra? Like, what do I need? So like looking into all those things, like for me, it's really looking at like, the functionality, the purpose, then the materials, and then obviously fit come into play, and then color and aesthetics, and just look good too. You want to be able to put that on and go, first you see it and you're like, that's cute. I like it. And then you touch it. You're like, oh, this is nice. And then you put it on. You're like, ooh, it looks nice. I like it. And then you're like, okay,
right.
Got it. You're like, it's great. I love it. And it's like this whole experience that you have.
Why do you think Athleisure, here, by the way, with head of design from Gym Plus Coffee, it's an Ireland-based company, and Courtney is kind enough to join us all the way in Ireland. What time is it? 8 o'clock there? It's like 8 o'clock at night?
8 p.m. in the evening, yes.
So work wrapped. You're not working anymore. I hope you're drinking some nice tea and chilling. By the way, what are you rocking? Are you rocking a Gym Plus Coffee outfit?
You can't see because I'm short, but there you go. It's the Sierra full zip hoodie. Very cozy. I haven't figured out the heat situation in my apartment, so it's definitely coming in handy.
You know, I feel like athleisure is all I wear now every single day, and I'm grateful that I have so many options now. Why do you think that it's taken the industry by such storm? You know, why are so many people wearing athleisure brands nowadays than ever?
I think, you know, definitely COVID and being in lockdown had a lot to really swing the pendulum into that direction. I've been in sportswear companies for a long time. So in my head, athleisure has been around for a long time. But I really think that, you know, people are working from home. They're spending more time at home. Comfort is really key. But you also want to look good in addition. So you don't want to just wear like sweats. You don't want to feel like you're wearing sweats. You want to put on something, again, you want to feel good. You want to be comfortable. But there's that casualness about it because you are home all day, right? So being able to have those comfy pants or tights or things that you can feel comfortable and relax in your own environment. And I think, you know, going out and about, it's the same thing. So like why Gym Plus Coffee came to be is, you know, is about like the community around fitness and you're meeting up with your friends and you go do sports, you throw on that hoodie and then you go meet up with your friends for a coffee or a brunch or whatever, but you still want to look good. You don't want to look like you just worked out and you're sweating in the gym. You want to be able to show up and be comfortable but look good. And I think that's how it all came together.
And this may be within the same frame of reference, but what is always your goal? Is your goal to create sustainability? Is your goal always consumer brand happiness? What is your goal as someone that is head of product design? Is it I guess, what is that relationship and what is do your goals change or are they always the same?
I would say yes to all of those questions.
I asked you a lot. Yeah.
So, like, number one, we want to make sure the consumer's happy, right? We want to make products that people want to buy, that they want to wear, that they want to, you know, feel comfortable in. And so consumer desire is important because if nobody wants to buy your product, then you have nothing to sell, right? And of course, being in the garment industry, sustainability is obviously, you know, more and more important. Making sure that when we can, choosing the right base materials, recycled plastics, organic cottons, recycled polyester. Even when it comes to packaging, you know, the team's working on compostable bags and, compostable shipping bags as well. And so those things are really important. And what was your third question? I'm sorry.
I know I asked you so many. Well, I guess what because as I'm talking to you, you're so fascinating to me. I'm literally like, what does her day-to-day look like? And then where my brain went next was, does she have a checklist of what her goals are when it comes to being in a position like what you're in, which is head of product design? Does your goal change? Is it always constantly the same? And like, what does your day-to-day job look like?
So the goals, typically I'll set targets for myself and it will change from time to time. You know, you'll go from season to season and you'll set like, okay, this is the ambition for this season. And then, okay, for next season, we want to do this. For next season, you might want to go here. Because I think something like when it comes to sustainability, you can't just solve that overnight. So you need to have a strategic plan. So for me, my day-to-day is, you know, it's all of the things. You know, it's working with the design team, it's working on the products, it's working with product marketing, on the storytelling, it's working with my buying team on, you know, making sure that fabric selections and, you know, what materials or what styles are going to go into the range. Working with my merchandisers, do we have the right mix of products? Do we have the right mix of color? So every day it's hard to say like this is my day because every day is different.
It's different.
But that's great because it keeps things interesting.
Speaking of interesting, I think a lot of people find your career path and your journey and what you do now interesting. If someone were to want to be in alignment with what you're doing and how you got there, what would be some advice to give to young men or women about how to get to where you're at? Because you've obviously been very tenacious and you know a thing or two about performance apparel, but What would you say the advice would be if a younger student wanted to get into your business? I'm sure you've been asked that question before.
Yeah, it's, obviously the first thing is, go to school for it. You need to learn about the garment industry, how garments are made, how they're constructed, pattern making, how to convey what's in your head and your idea from that thought on sketch to actually creating a garment. Then it's trying to get your foot in the door. It's a really hard industry to get in, but whenever you can get an opportunity to get in, try it out, see if that's what you really love. Because I think a lot of people love fashion, or a lot of people love to be creative, and it's looking at like what drives you. Are you a creative person? Do you have more of that business sense where you're better with numbers, but you still like, fashion and product? And there's it's this huge industry, so there's so many different opportunities. Like, do you love just looking at how things could be arranged in store, or what the right thing should be in a store? Then maybe it's okay, maybe you should be a buyer if you're thinking about those things, but you're great with numbers. Maybe it's merchandising. There's different avenues within that. But I think the first thing is just really, following your passion, and don't let anybody, stop you from doing that. And then once you get your foot in the door, learn and keep learning. And I think that's the important thing is, even in my career where I'm at, you might be like, oh, well, you're, head of product, you're leading a team, you must know everything. And I will say, I know nothing. I know a good amount, but there's still so even I can learn. So I think it's that, that's always striving to learn and, learn new things, be better. Is it learning a new tool? Is it learning how to use Illustrator? Is it learning color theory? Is it learning about materials? How do materials work together? Even learning about sustainability. That was not something that was even in the curriculum when I went to school. Right. People didn't think about that, but that's something I had to learn on the job. So
yeah,
I think when people are young, I think, especially today, nothing against the generation today, but everybody's in such a hurry to be at the finish line. It's I want to be a director. I want to be a creative director in charge of a team. I want to be the one designing everything. I want to be the one creating everything. And, you have to, do the time and learn and go through the process, because it's the journey that gets you to that position. And it's the journey and the learning and discovering along the way, and focusing on, okay, not how do I get to be a director, but how do I make the best t-shirt? How do I be the best at shirts? How do I be the best at making tights? Let me geek out on zippers. It's those types of things are what really help you to get to the next place. And it's constantly learning. It's even when I went from design to marketing, I was okay, let me learn about storytelling. Let me learn about footwear. Let me learn about how midsoles are created, right? So it's all these things that without that, going and learning all these things, I wouldn't probably be in the position that I'm in today.
You're so that's so interesting. And I could not agree with that journey process more. And that's what I try to, when I mentor younger women who want to get into broadcast, is don't be afraid of taking a producer job. It's not, you're not on camera yet, but you're learning what goes into that. And so don't always be afraid of, like you said, climbing that mountain, even if the route might be a little more zigzag than you were believing, because let me tell you, you also don't want to be at the top when you don't have the experience of what that means when you're at the top. Yeah. It's it could be nerve-wracking. There's a lot of pressure. Sometimes failing a few times gives you that armor that can prepare you for when you have the big shot and you have the big opportunity. And, I think, like you said, that journey is so important, because maybe you might decide, you know what, I don't really like product design. Maybe I'll get into insurance. Maybe I'll become an accountant. I don't know.
You never know.
And your journey is so fascinating. Here with Courtney Evers, head of product design with Gym Plus Coffee, a company based in Ireland, an athleisure company. Like I said, I'm rocking their alabaster cropped crew, which is so cute because the and I know I need to let you go, but the cropped outfit, everybody's into the cropped look, which by the way, super into. What are you starting to see trend-wise that consumers are asking for?
A lot more of more unisex, and looking into more like plus sizes and inclusivity. So I think that's one thing where we're looking into the different silhouettes, because we have so many different customers. Some people like things that are a little bit more fitted. Some people like things that are a little bit more cropped. That oversized look is definitely still really big and trending. And, that unisex as well, how to really, create the right unisex fit for women and men, that it works for everybody. But I think
I love, sorry, I just cut you off. You keep going.
No, I think inclusivity is really where things are going when it comes to, within design and fashion, especially within the world of athleisure.
I absolutely love that. I think inclusivity is so important. Let's market to a bigger audience, and people want representation. So if you are plus size, they want to see what the model looks like that represents them. And so I love that that is a priority for you guys here with Courtney Evers, head of product design from Gym Plus Coffee. I'm just so grateful that I was able to speak with you a few days ago and hear about your story. You are so inspiring. You're so passionate about your company that you work for and you're in the business that you're in. But what's even more inspiring for me was the adversity that you went through to get to where you are today. And you're so happy with the company that you work with because they have everything. You've been given everything, the ability to have your fingerprints on the actual product, but you work at a company that has a really good team morale within itself. And I think as a consumer, that's important for us. We want a company that we can vote with our dollar. And so if they're in passion about priorities that are rooted in, healthy sustainability, lifestyles, that's something that's important to me. So I love that you guys are all about inclusivity. I love the product design. And thank you so much for joining us today, Courtney. It was so fun to chat.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
It always flies by. I
love talking to you. I could talk to you all day.
That's the only thing is there's never enough time. But Woman Crush Wednesday with Courtney Evers of Gym Plus Coffee. Thank you again, and I will see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you so much, Erin.
Bye, Court. Take care.